Alright, today we're going to make a paprikash, sort of. I'm going to play around with certain of my favorite things and kind of make a hybrid. Make it up mostly as I go along, but I have a rough idea. What you saying, boo? What's she saying? You gonna talk the whole time? Hmm? Yeah. Okay, my battery died when I started the rice. I had to make it, so I'll just explain what I did. The rice really isn't important here. Any kind of rice that you find that you like, preferably a type of rice, meaning whatever form you cook it or flavor it or don't flavor it. Whatever you find you enjoy most with savory things, because this paprikash is going to be savory. So if you just like white rice and let the paprikash be the star, by all means. You can use long grain parboiled rice, which is what I used. And that's nice if you like almost like what you see in the food courts, the so-called Chinese fried rice, where it stays separate. So that's long grain parboiled is a good one to buy for that. And then if you like to keep them kind of separate and fluffy as opposed to sticky, that's the rice to use. And then another trick I learned from the Latin community to take it just a little bit further, when you, instead of just putting it in a pot with water, you first put a little bit of oil and you put the heat on high and you stir the rice, the dry rice, in the oil real quickly. And when it starts to just lightly brown, then you add the water. And the general rule of thumb with most rice, with the exception of basmati, you can pull back on the water a little bit, but generally it's, you just double whatever amount you put of rice, is double that in water. So that's a quick, easy way. You can use just a cup or a bowl, or if you don't have a measuring cup. So just double, you always double your rice, except with basmati, not quite double it. So if you use 2 cups of rice, instead of the full 4, maybe do 3 and a bit. You play around. But once you start playing with rice, it becomes pretty natural, and you can play with it, and you can flavor it or not flavor it with so many things. What I did was I decided to go with parboiled today, long grain, and I flavored it with turmeric. Lots of turmeric I put in the oil. So once I browned the dry rice, then I added the water, then immediately added turmeric. And I added just a teeny bit of chili powder, just for scuzz. And I put raisins and almonds in it. And it's quite nice, the raisins, although now that I put them in and tasted it, I kind of wish I put a little bit more. Because they do lose some of the sweetness. You will taste a very mild sweetness from them when they're cooked in the rice. So if you want a little more sweetness, then add lots of raisins. And the almonds are nice. They still have a little bit of crunch. See if you can pick it up on camera. So it's got a little bit of crunch, but it's quite soft and easy to bite through, so those are nice. So what I did was added that, got it good and boiling, put the lid on, turned it off, and just let it sit for at least a half an hour, and then I go back and check, and usually the rice is perfect and fluffy. And then you can take the lid off with the rest of the steam out. Now I wanted to add fresh herbs because I want the rice to be kind of in the spirit of half raw, half cooked as well as the paprikash. So now that the rice is very cool, I mean it's just slightly warm, but it's not hot anymore. So when the rice gets done just being just a little bit warm, that's the perfect time to put in herbs. I just used what I had, which was mostly parsley and a little bit of dill. And so now I'm just going to stir that around and call the rice done. So So now I've mixed it around. There's lots of fresh herbs in there, diced small, so that's great. Well, I just use scissors. And so what you have is, it's primarily a cooked dish, but with the fresh flavorness and the nutrients, uncooked, of the herbs. So you can, that's one way. You can put vegetables and rice too. You can do whatever you want. And for this one, I was keeping it simple since I'm going to have a lot of uncooked vegetables in the paprikash. I thought I'd keep the rice kind of simple, still get some fresh raw in there in the form of the herbs. So the rice is done, and now we are going to make the sauce. So what I've done here, primarily I'm just using what I had handy, so very similar ingredients here, running through the different parts of this dinner. So it's going to be a veggie paprikash. Traditionally paprikashes are like with chicken or meat, but paprikashes really don't need it. They're so flavorful. Now I found, even though it doesn't seem to be widespread known, but there are some old Hungarian recipes I found on the internet, just a few that swear by their method, which is just spoiling the heck out of it with onions. And I tried it. I mean, with a ridiculous amount. Where it looks like you're making at first onion casserole or something, and then it cooks down. And it really adds to the paprika and the paprikash and all the other flavors. So it is really a yummy way I think, to try paprikash. So I didn't have mountains of onions, but I had quite a bit. So what I have here is, well, you can't really see it, but I've got lots of real onion in there, like white onion, big chunks. On top, what you see is then also red onion. So I got white onion, red onion, a lot of onion, and green and red peppers, chunks, nice big chunks. This is for the raw part. And just because I had it, I put some broccoli. So you could partially blanch to get them soft if you don't want them to cook them, put them in at the last minute. Or you can do what I just did. I was really lazy. I just cut all the big stems off that obviously take some cooking, or partial cooking, and just kept the light flowers. So when we put that in and warm it up, that should be fine for me. And so that's what's in there, everything but garlic. I'm saving the garlic for the actual sauce. So these are the ingredients that go in at the last minute. Again, pretty simple, lots and lots of onion. It's hard to tell, but trust me, there's tons of onion in there. Chunks of green pepper, red pepper, broccoli, and I had some tomatoes, so I put a little bit of tomato in there too. And that's going to go in pretty much the last minute. Now in this bowl, we have even more onion. You can see the bowl's overflowing. White and red onion, and what you can't see in the bottom, unfortunately, is garlic. And what I did is I took a few fat garlics and I diced them up just so that garlic immediately starts simmering into the sauce. So there's lots of diced garlic, and then I put a lot, I'd say 10, 15 medium to small garlics in there at least, where I just cut the little hard end off. So they'll release juices slowly as it simmers, so they'll continuously keep, as the sauce gets cooked down, it's going to continue to get the oily, garlicky juices reflavoring it. So that's kind of a nice way to make sure something, because sometimes, even garlic and other things, you can almost cook all the flavor out of it, and depending how long you cook. Now I don't plan on cooking it that long, but I do like to have little flavor injections, as I like to think of them, constantly going through as it's cooking itself. So the little garlic pieces do that, and as well, once it's done, they will be fully cooked garlic, and you'll have these nice, but they'll be quite flavorful when you bite into the little, what I call garlic bombs. So they're quite pleasurable too. So So lots of garlic through the sauce, lots of little bites of garlic, mountains of onion, and I also put tomato in that, and I also put just some of the rough ends of the red pepper and green pepper and diced it real small. Basically, pretty much everything that's in there is in there, just diced smaller for simmering. So there's the rough ends of broccoli diced really small, and they're going to simmer. And it's partially not to waste, it's also partially just to kind of run this, you know, we're going to have the raw flavor at the end, and the raw pluses, the nutrients. But to take advantage, you know, the fact is when you simmer certain things, magic can happen. So might as well use all those flavors and run them through in their cooked form. So there's, like I said, really diced small in the bottom, red, green pepper, broccoli, diced garlic, full garlics in there, tons of white and red onion, mostly white, because red onion, it does lose its flavor when you cook it. That's why it's better in things raw. That's why you see in stir fries that red onions are used a lot. But I put just a little bit of red onion in there, even for cooked, just for scuzz. But it's mostly white in there, and mostly red in there, with a little bit of white in there, and a lot of white in there. So lots of white onions really going to help make the savory, sweet flavor of the sauce. And in here, I have some dill and some lemon and cucumber and some finely diced garlic in the bottom and some oil, which I will put in a blender and then add the sour cream and just call it a quick tzatziki type sauce. So here's where I'm mixing a lot of my favorite flavors. A nice fluffy rice, which is always also good with saucy things, and sour cream. So we got this nice, you know, mild savory rice, and then we're going to have hopefully a really savory, melt in your mouth, red creamy sauce, paprikash with lots of raw vegetables in it, and then we'll drizzle some tzatziki type sauce on top. So I've never combined these three really in this way before, but it occurred to me in making paprikash that paprikash you could branch into so many things. Generally it's made with pasta, which is yummy. I mean, you could just make a bowl of this stuff and get some really nice bread, or you can try rice. Really, I think paprikash is, there's a lot more potential to it I'd like to explore. And that's what we're doing today. So that was a big long speech because I really had nothing to show you because I did it all while the camera was charging. What I'm going to do now in a minute is I'm going to get the sauce going. So now we've got butter and some sunflower oil. And then dumping in all the stuff for the sauce, which I'm going to simmer for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Okay. There you go. So as you can see now, what was in the bottom, we have a combination of diced and full garlic. And we've got the finely diced green peppers, red peppers, and broccoli, and lots of white onion, although I would like more onion, but I just couldn't spare it. And a little bit of red onion. And so now I'm just going to saute this real quick. And then almost instantly start adding the paprika and a little bit of water, and some salt and pepper, lots of paprika, and start getting that sauce going. Red wine would be great. I don't have any. It's got red wine for sure. Alright, so I'm going to add all the wet ingredients and the spices now. Okay, so I've added a little bit of water, not a lot, but just enough to give it a little bit more base. I'm just going to play it by ear. I don't want it too watery. And just before when it's done simmering, after an hour and a half or so, just before I add the raw ingredients, I'll probably take a little bit of water and cornstarch and just thicken it just a little. As you can see, I just want to show you how much paprika I just put in this. Well, here some people in paprikash say, to pull back. I don't believe in that at all. To me, I've never put too much paprika in paprikash. But that's me. You try it out yourself. Now this was just regular paprika. It's all I could get my hands on. But the absolute best, is Hungarian paprika. There really is a world of difference. It's so much darker and more flavorful. But regular paprika will do. So it's thickening up pretty quick. So I'm going to add a lot more water, I think. And I'll turn it down now. And simmer it on low. Very low. And just let all those flavors dance around. Okay, so now I've put some sea salt and some fresh cracked pepper. And I'm going to put the lid on and let it simmer for a while. Now one thing I didn't put in this because I don't have is carrots, but carrots also go so well with paprikash. You can put baby carrots or you can chop them up, dice them, but when you simmer them in the sauce until they're soft, they really do add something to the flavor. They really complement. I think it might be the acidity and a little bit of sugar in it, I'm not sure, but it really does complement as well the paprikash sauce. I put red peppers in it, so that should kind of hopefully compensate a little bit because there's a bit of sweetness there. So it doesn't need carrots, but trust me, carrots are, if you got carrots, put carrots in it. So, put the lid on, let it just simmer slowly, about an hour and a half or so, we'll check on it. And then I'm going to make just make a quick tzatziki. And here I've put in all the ingredients to the tzatziki, except for the sour cream. Or yogurt, however you like to make it. And that's it. I'm going to throw that in a bowl with some sour cream and call it done. Now what some people do with tzatziki, there's different ways to do it. I just use sour cream. I'm feeling very lazy today, so I'm just throwing in the cucumber grounded, but a lot will actually drain the extra liquid. Die-hard tzatziki makers will say that, and yeah, if you feel like doing it, absolutely. Strain it. I mean, I could have. I got a strainer right there. But I was just being stubborn today, so I'm not going to, but by all means, if you don't want it, if you want to make sure it's not too watery and very creamy, when you first chop the cucumber, you can just put it in the blender plain, with nothing in it, and grind it up some more, then put it in kind of a strainer like this, and get the water up. And then you can throw it back in the blender, put your other things in, whatever you want to do. Lemon, the oil, the garlic, the dill. For me, I'm just going to grind it, throw it in the sour cream, and call it good enough. Because this is getting thrown on top of a paprikash and a yummy rice. Alright, next step. Okay, I wasn't sure if I mentioned it, but where are they here? I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that I also put in 2 small come here, you. Get on my spoon! Alright, so that, my friend, is a little red chili pepper. A fresh one. Well, from the freezer. I buy a bunch and then I put them in the freezer and then you can use them. They last forever. And they're still very flavorful. Anyways, I put 2 in. 2 tiny ones, and just put a tiny split in it with a knife to let out the oily hot juices. So 2 small ones in this they won't make it hot at all, but what it will do, the reason I put it in and the reason I'm mentioning it, is that I don't like a lot of hot things, once in a while, but I generally don't spice things very heavy. However, I will quite often in savory dishes put just 1 or 2 tiny small fresh chili peppers in and simmer it, because what it does is, especially in pasta sauces, because if you load it, it'll become really hot, but when you put it in just a little bit and let it simmer in the sauce, it won't make it hot where you'll eat it and go, oh, that's spicy. But what it does do is you get an after tingle. And I love that with savory things, especially with garlic, because the garlic and the onion and paprikash and all that, all those flavors will ride. So in other words, you ever eat like a really good pasta sauce or something really saucy and your mouth was just singing for like an hour afterwards? That's somebody who's put lots of savory in and probably put a little bit of natural hot oils, because it makes your mouth slightly tingle and just keeps all that going in your mouth. So that's why I put it in there, not for heat, it won't be very hot, but just to help really sell that savory. So we get back to letting it simmer. And with the tzatziki, I ground it up, and I did actually end up draining a little bit. It was a little more liquidy than I wanted. I left some liquid in, but I drained most of it. Actually, most of that new liquid is some fresh lemon. I wanted more lemon in. So I'm going to add sour cream in a minute and mix it up, call that done. And then it's just a matter of waiting on the sauce, and then at the last minute add all the raw vegetables. And then it's eating time. Alright, so we have the tzatziki done. So again, I took that ground up, excuse me, that ground up garlic. I got a mouthful of this tzatziki. Man, that's flavorful. That might be the best tzatziki I've ever done. I wanted to have a little bit of tartness to it to contrast the savory. First of all, it'll go good against the rice, you know, the turmeric flavored rice, but as well against that paprika flavor. So I put a little extra lemon in it. It's got lots of garlic in it. It's got a little bit of dill in it, just the right amount. And I put some oil, sunflower oil, and then sour cream. And so that is done. I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it stiffen up a bit. But that's going to be incredible over the paprikash, which is back to simmering now. Okay, so now it's been simmering for about an hour and a half. As you can see, it's getting quite dark, which is a good sign for paprikash. And I won't do it while I have a... Maybe I can do it. I was going to say, I gotta pick out the pepper, and I did it. There we go. So I don't want that in there anymore. And I can find the other one. There's your little pepper. Oh, it might have broke. That's okay. I think it might have broke. Oh, it's a red pepper. Ah, the search for the red pepper. It must have broke because they were standing out crazy before and now. Okay, so that one, I guess that one's lost. Anyways, So now, just for flavor, I'm going to add just a teeny bit of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire. Just a little bit. You don't have to put it in. And just a little bit, which I often do in things, a little bit of bullseye. Just put a little bit in. I don't want it to taste like barbecue sauce. But that bullseye has a really nice smoky flavor. So if you put just a little in any sauce and then cook it for a little more, it won't taste like bullseye, you know, if you didn't overdo it, but you will get this nice smokiness. And then some more paprika. This is paprikash. Again, some people seem adamant that a good paprikash, you know, pull back. For me, maybe it's all just about flavor preference. But to me, that's what it's all about. That's why it's called paprikash, right? So I like to put lots in. I think that when it hits the sour cream, or in this case tzatziki sauce, it really does something quite magical. It's magical, mama. So this is a nice treat. This isn't something I would necessarily make very often. It's a lot of work, and once in a while it's okay to treat yourself. Why not? So, now that I justified that, we're going to, what's next? Oh, add a little bit of cornstarch and water, just to thicken it a bit. I didn't put a lot. Just a little bit, because we're going to be putting in those other vegetables, and they're going to have water in them. And so I don't want this to be soup if I can help it. So I'm going to let that cook for another minute or so. Get some heat to it. I'm going to turn it up actually. Get some real intense heat. Then I'm going to dump in the other stuff. Turn the heat off. Stir it around and cover it. Alright, we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've immediately taken it off the heat, and put a lid on it, so there's still some heat in there, but not enough to really cook all these red pepper, green pepper chunks, white, red onion, and some small broccoli flowerets. We'll let them sit for about 10 minutes in the warmth, and then ladle it over some rice. Some tzatziki sauce. Yummy. Alright, so it's ready to go. Some people serve paprikash with sour cream on the sides. Some people put it in at the last minute. I tend to do a little bit of both. I put a little bit in at the last minute, stir it around, just to get that marriage started between the sour cream and the paprikash, because that's where the magic is. In fact, if you didn't have sour cream, I don't know, I'm not sure I would even bother with paprikash. I mean, it's delicious, but they have to be together. Of course, it's a very biased opinion. And obviously I love my paprikash and sour cream. Don't have it very often, but I sure do enjoy it. Anyway, so there we go. I mixed it just a little bit. And now we're going to serve it up. Okay, so what I've done is, there's actually a lot of that tzatziki cream in there, because you want lots with when you get the paprikash on there. At least I do. So I've dug a hole. So that's actually, I made a pile of rice, and then I dug out a hole in the center and then filled it and then overflowed it. So there's a very generous portion. But of course, now the paprikash. ladle it around. Try to get lots of everything. And then a little extra sauce. Can't even see the rice anymore, but I can tell you this is going to be gorgeous. Alright, let's taste it. Grab some rice, a little bit of tzatziki. Well folks, I knocked this one into the park. I don't always, but you can see here, crunching. So the vegetables that were put in at the end still have tons of nutrients because they're not cooked, they're just slightly warm. And the sauce, of course, has all those cooked versions of the same vegetables and tons of garlic and onion and all that other good stuff. So it's so savory. And then you've got this freshness running through it with all these big chunks. And the rice is really quite lovely and complements it. And then the tzatziki, which I made very garlicky and lemony. Sorry. Which I made very garlicky and lemony. So that's really contrasting, well I shouldn't say contrasting, it's playing off of warm. Here's a warning. If you're going to make this, you know, you're going to end up shoveling it in. That's how good it is. I'm not even one of those people that shovel food in. Occasionally when it's something I really enjoy. And this is a case where I gotta watch it because I'm gonna stuff myself. Man, the flavors in my mouth right now, the paprika, the paprikash flavor, playing against the tzatziki sour cream dill sauce, the other flavors going on, there's a nice onion sweetness running through it. And remember those hot peppers, my mouth is not hot, I don't feel like I ate something hot at all, but it's starting to hum a little, sing a little. So there's enough heat that all these other incredible flavors are riding on top. And so that's why, you know, the butter and the oil and all the garlic and the hot peppers, they run on oils too. So all these flavors of oils are now running together, creating this incredibly savory dish while providing just enough heat to make it last and sing in your mouth. Oh man. That's going to be hard not to shovel that in. So, who's this for? I always say this, but I feel I should say it in every video in case you haven't seen these videos. This is a half cooked, half raw. What this is for either people like me who don't intend to fully go raw, but do want the benefits of raw, then it's perfect. So if you want to get lots of nutrients all the time, raw nutrients, give your stomach a break while also enjoying some cooked, then these ones are perfect, this kind of style. It's also good if you're planning on becoming totally raw, but you're having a real hard time just giving up cooking. This is a great way to segue into it. Another one, if you're strictly raw, but you're having a party, you're having guests over, you know, and they're not all raw, people that eat raw, you know, if you want them to feel welcome, of course you're going to want to introduce them to the way you eat, and you're going to want to share the magic of what you eat with them, and there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, you know, a lot of people are going to be closed-minded, or, you know, they're in an uncomfortable environment. It takes time to warm up. So the last thing you want to do is just ram raw food down someone's throat, you know, from their perspective. You know, put out this buffet of nothing but raw. You know, they might not warm up to you if you've lost your audience. And you've got a guest that, you know, could be enjoying themselves more. So this is a great way to kind of incorporate, give them something, and then if they like that, you can also make raw dishes, and then at least they have an option of something that's still kind of nutritious and different, but it also gives them what they want, that home-cooked goodness. And who knows, from there they might try the other dishes. So it's good if you're hosting for non-raw people. You know, this is a good compromise. Wow. So that is like the best of all worlds. You've got cooked, you've got the smells of cooked, the sauteed garlic and onion and all that stuff was going on. You've got the wonderful cooked rice with the turmeric, and you've got fresh herbs and fresh vegetables, not cooked, running through the rice, running through the paprikash. So giving you all that fresh goodness. It's just the best of all worlds. So I'm rambling on. Go to it. You got to make this. It's really, really, really good. One more for the road. I got an almond too. Gorgeous. Go make it, paprikash. Doesn't matter what you put in it. Put whatever you want in it, vegetable-wise or whatnot. Just play around with it. Have a night. Paprika.